They say revenge is a dish best served cold, but my first taste of it wasn't cold. It was searing hot. It was the heat of suffocating rage as I watched my husband, the man I vowed to love, force me to my knees on the cold tile floor. He was demanding I apologize for a crime committed against me. I remember the metallic taste of blood filling my mouth, where I had bitten my tongue in frustration. I remember the triumphant, twisted sneer on my mother-in-law's face, looming over me like a gargoyle. I remember the darkness closing in, the sheer injustice of it all stopping my heart. The pressure in my chest was unbearable, like an elephant sitting on my ribs. I died in that moment, not peacefully in my sleep, but consumed by the fire of unresolved hatred and the bitterness of betrayal. And then, silence. Absolute, terrifying silence. It felt like floating in a void, suspended between worlds, until the knocking started. Knock, knock, knock. It wasn't the knocking of heaven's gates. It was urgent, impatient, familiar. It was the sound of my own personal hell calling me back. I snapped my eyes open. The ceiling fan whirred above me, a rhythmic slicing of the air that felt dizzyingly real. My husband, the man who had just watched me die, was snoring beside me, his mouth open, oblivious to the murder of my soul that had just occurred. I sat up, gasping for air, clutching my chest. The calendar on the wall showed a date from 3 years ago. The sunlight filtering through the curtains was too bright to reel. I hadn't just died. I had returned. The universe had pressed the rewind button. And this time, I wasn't the victim in their twisted little play. I was the director, and I had a new script. Welcome back to Midnight Cravings. Usually, we're here to satisfy your late-night hunger for the bizarre, the mysterious, the stories that keep you looking over your shoulder. But tonight, we're indulging a different kind of craving, a primal one. The craving for absolute, undeniable karmic justice. Buckle up. We are diving deep into the suburbs, behind closed doors, where the most brutal psychological warfare takes place over the dinner table. This isn't a fairy tale with a happy ending for everyone. It's a dissection of a toxic family unit, a study in narcissism, and one woman's calculated, cold-blooded escape. Let the games begin. The knocking continued, pulling me further from the nightmare of my past life and anchoring me in this impossible present. I pinched my arm, hard. The skin turned red, the sharp sting confirming my reality. I was back before the systematic dismantling of my life began. In my previous life, my mother-in-law, Martha, wasn't just difficult. She was a master practitioner of psychological abuse. She was a narcissist who viewed me not as a person, but as an appliance, something to be used, drained of resources, and discarded when broken. I sat there on the bed, remembering the slow poison of her actions. It started small, insidious, feeding me spoiled leftovers, special fried rice, she called it, claiming it was a delicacy, while the Blood family ate fresh food. I spent nights curled on the bathroom floor, gutted by food poisoning, my body convulsing, while she gaslit me through the door, claiming I must have eaten street trash. The family always backed her. I was the outsider. I was always wrong. Then came the chemical warfare. The moment she poured industrial-strength hair removal cream into my expensive conditioner bottles. I lost half my hair before I figured it out. I cried in front of the mirror for hours. I lost my confidence. Eventually, I lost my high-paying job because I looked, in the words of my shallow boss, unstable and unkempt. That past life ended in a chaotic scene of me discovering her tampering with my toiletries again, a slap across her face, and my entire family-in-law turning on me like a pack of wolves. My heart couldn't take the strain of the betrayal. But that was then. This is now. The knocking on the door grew more aggressive, vibrating the wood. It was 6 a.m. Sarah, wake up. Today is your day off. You need to take Tiffany shopping for school supplies. The voice grated on my nerves like sandpaper. In my past life, I would have jumped out of bed, apologetic, rushing to please them. Today, I rolled over and pulled the duvet over my head, savoring the warmth. The noise eventually woke my husband Ken, a man whose spine was permanently absent when it came to his mother. He grumbled, eyes still shut, trying to push me out of bed to deal with her. I kicked him, hard, right in the shin. It's 6 a.m. Deal with your own mother. The shock on his face was satisfying. He looked at me as if the furniture had suddenly started speaking. He groggily opened the door to find his mother ready to berate me. Seeing her precious son instead, her venom instantly evaporated into syrupy concern. "Oh, my son, did I wake you? Go back to sleep." The dynamic was clear. I was the scapegoat, he was the golden child. He slammed the door in her face, and we slept until noon. The war had started, but this time, I wasn't fighting on their terms. The first major skirmish happened over money. It always does with parasites. In the past, I was their personal ATM. The sister-in-law, Tiffany, was a spoiled brat who viewed my hard-earned income as her allowance. I had bought her top-tier electronics, designer clothes, trying to buy acceptance into this family. It never worked. You cannot buy love from people who only love themselves. When I finally emerged from the bedroom, Martha tried to guilt-trip me into taking Tiffany to the mall. She used her usual manipulation tactics, feigning helplessness. I refused flatly, pouring myself a glass of water. "I have to work overtime. Let Ken take her." They were stunned into silence. Martha immediately pivoted to her son, ordering him to pay. I saw the panic in his eyes. He looked at me, expecting the usual bailout, his eyes pleading. I smiled sweetly, a smile that didn't reach my eyes. "Honey, the things Tiffany wants will cost at least $2,000 or $3,000. You're the big brother. You should give your mom your credit card. Show them how successful you are." The matriarch's face darkened. She slapped my arm, a reflex action of control. "You're the sister-in-law. Why should he pay? Don't you have a salary?" I almost laughed aloud. The audacity was breathtaking. "You're her mother, and you won't pay. Why should I? Am I a bank? Do I look like a vault to you?" I walked away, leaving them to implode in the living room. Behind me, Tiffany threw a tantrum worthy of a toddler, screaming and rolling on the floor. Ken, furious at the prospect of spending his own money, turned his rage on his sister, shouting at her to shut up. The alliance was already fracturing. It turns out, their loyalty to each other ended where their wallets began. That evening, I initiated the first phase of active retaliation. It was subtle. It revolved around a simple, red bath towel. In my previous life, the catalyst for my final, fatal argument was discovering my mother-in-law using my expensive face towel to wipe her feet. When confronted, her defense was a masterclass in gaslighting. "It's all just skin, isn't it? Why are you so obsessed with cleanliness? You think you're better than me?" Knowing this was her habit, I made a few adjustments. I bought myself disposable face towels and hid my toothbrush in a locked drawer. I left the prominent red towel hanging there, but now, it was officially Ken's towel. I knew she couldn't resist. Her urge to violate my boundaries, to dominate my space, was a compulsion she couldn't control. A few days later, I came home to find my vanity table cleared. My high-end skincare, hundreds of dollars worth of serums and creams, was gone. I knew exactly where it went. Tiffany had stolen it. Normally, I would be furious. But I knew something they didn't. I knew Martha, in a fit of spite regarding how much money I spent on myself, had secretly contaminated those very bottles with something filthy. She found outside, perhaps dirt, or worse. She wanted to ruin my skin to teach me humility. Instead, her daughter had stolen the poison chalice. I didn't react immediately. I waited. Patience is a weapon. I had installed a hidden camera in our bedroom weeks ago, a precaution from my past life that I implemented immediately upon rebirth. I reviewed the footage. It captured Martha tampering with the creams, clear as day, her face twisted in a gleeful grimace. I dropped the video into the family group chat without a word. Chaos erupted. Martha didn't apologize. She weaponized her shame. She threatened suicide, screeching that I had framed her. She lied, claiming she was adding traditional herbs to help my skin. Tiffany, blindly loyal and equally foolish, believed her mother. She called me venomous. "I'll never use your stuff again. You're trying to trap mom." Good, I thought. Keep using it, sweetheart. Rub it deep into your pores. A month later, Tiffany came home from university for a break. Her face was a disaster zone. Giant, weeping cystic acne covered every inch of skin. It was angry, red, and painful. It was far worse than anything I had suffered in my past life. A dermatologist diagnosed it in 5 minutes, a severe fungal infection usually found on feet transferred to her face. The truth dawned on Martha. In trying to hurt me, she had disfigured her own daughter. Yet, even then, her narcissism wouldn't allow her to accept fault. She turned on me, screaming that I had bought contaminated products and demanded I pay for the expensive treatments. I simply played the video footage again. "I didn't put foot fungus in my own cream, Mom. You did." Tiffany looked at her mother with horror. The blind loyalty began to crack. Muttered, while we waited for the hair loss drama to unfold, I decided it was time to deal with my father-in-law, George. He was the classic enabler. He never participated in the abuse directly, but he always smoothed things over, telling me to be the bigger person, effectively validating his wife's behavior. In my past life, he had happily eaten fresh food while I ate the spoiled leftovers. Not this time. Martha prepared her infamous golden fried rice, the dish made from week-old, unrefrigerated leftovers that had nearly killed me in my past life. The smell was faint, but I recognized it. She pushed the bowl toward me with a sickly, sweet smile. I feigned excitement, but then pulled out a supermarket flyer. "Oh, my God, Mom, look. Eggs are on sale right now. Insanely cheap. But the sale ends in 10 minutes. Her eyes lit up. Greed was her primary motivator. She barked an order for me to finish the rice and bolted out the door to save a few cents on eggs. The moment she was gone, I turned to George. "Dad, this rice is delicious. You should have it. I had a big lunch." He didn't hesitate. He shoveled the toxic, bacteria-laden rice into his mouth, pleased to be getting the special treatment for once. The reaction was almost instantaneous. His stomach began to make sounds like a dying engine, gurgling and churning violently. He sprinted for the bathroom. What followed was an hour of auditory horror. My husband, Ken, threw up just from the smell escaping the bathroom. I retreated to my room, mask on, stifling laughter. By the time Martha returned, triumphant with her cheap eggs, her husband was collapsed on the bathroom floor, pale as a sheet, dehydrated and delirious. Even then, her cheapness prevailed. She refused to call an ambulance because of the cost. "Just drag him downstairs and call a taxi," she yelled. I refused to help. My husband had to call the ambulance. The paramedics gagged as they carried the semi-conscious, still flatulent man down 3 flights of stairs past horrified neighbors. He was hospitalized for severe food poisoning. The humiliation for a man of his generation, being carried out in his own filth, was worse than the physical pain. The dominoes were falling fast now. A few weeks later, Tiffany returned home in a panic. She ripped off her beanie to reveal a scalp that looked like a patchy, deforested landscape. The hair removal cream had worked devastatingly well. She looked like a middle-aged man holding on to the last wisps of hair. Martha instantly blamed me, accusing me of buying cheap products. But the doctor confirmed it was chemical damage, likely hair remover. I feigned outrage. "This is a lawsuit. We need to call the police and sue the shampoo company for millions." Tiffany's eyes lit up at the mention of money. But Martha tackled me to stop me from dialing. She knew what she had done. She threw herself on the floor, wailing that calling the police would shame the family. Tiffany, realizing her mother was protecting herself over her daughter's disfigurement, snapped. She screamed at her mother, a guttural cry of betrayal. The chaos at the hospital got us thrown out. In the parking lot, Tiffany demanded compensation, a new iPhone to make her feel better. I immediately excused myself, leaving the mother and daughter to tear each other apart over money. The final blow, however, was reserved for my husband. Martha, desperate to regain her son's favor after the food poisoning incident with his father, decided to cook him a feast. True to form, she went to the market and bought crabs that were already dead because they were 90% off. She thought she was being thrifty. She didn't know that shellfish that dies before being cooked releases dangerous toxins that cooking cannot remove. She packed him a lunch of spicy dead crab. He ate it before an all-important presentation to the company directors. A presentation that was supposed to secure his promotion. Halfway through his speech, the toxins hit his system with the force of a freight train. Sweat poured down his forehead. His vision blurred. He tried to hold it in, clenching every muscle in his body. He failed. In front of the entire board of directors, my polished, arrogant husband audibly and visibly soiled himself. The sound was unmistakable. The smell was instant and horrific, clearing the boardroom in seconds. He didn't just lose the promotion, he became a corporate pariah instantly. He walked out of the building, his expensive suit ruined, his dignity shattered, and never went back. He came home a broken man and unleashed a lifetime of repressed rage on his mother. He blamed her cheapness, her stupidity, her toxicity for ruining his life. The golden boy had finally shattered, and he took the pedestal down with him. The house was now a war zone of resentment. The father was weak and recovering, the daughter was bald and bitter, the son was unemployed and furious, and the mother was the target of everyone's hatred. It was time. I presented Ken with divorce papers. I had kept my finances completely separate, a lesson learned from the past. I had my savings, my dignity, and a job offer in another city. He begged. He pleaded. He tried to gaslight me one last time, clinging to my leg. My mother means well. She's just old. You can't leave me when I'm down. We promised. For better or worse. I looked at this pathetic man, the man who had once watched me die on the floor without lifting a finger. I looked at his tear-stained face and felt nothing. No anger, no love, just hollow indifference. You know exactly what she is, I said quietly, my voice steady. And you let it happen because it benefited you. You enjoyed the extra food, the pampering, the feeling of superiority. You're all drowning in your own poison. I'm just refusing to sink with you. I stepped over him and walked out the door. I didn't look back. I still have access to the living room camera feed. Sometimes when I need a reminder of how far I've come, I log in. The house was eventually foreclosed on because Ken couldn't work up the courage to find a new job after his public humiliation. Tiffany's hair never really grew back properly. The chemical burns scarred the follicles permanently. The parents are trapped in a small, rented apartment with 2 adult children who despise them. They spend their days screaming at each other, a closed loop of misery, blaming each other for their misfortunes. They are stuck in a hell of their own making. I didn't have to lift a hand against them in violence. I just stepped out of the way and let the inevitable consequences of their own actions crash down on their heads. Sometimes, the most effective revenge isn't dramatic confrontation. It's strategic withdrawal. It's allowing toxic people to consume themselves with the very poison they tried to feed you. They built their own prisons, brick by brick, lie by lie. I just locked the door behind me and threw away the key. What are your deepest cravings for justice? Have you ever watched karma do its work in real time? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this descent into domestic madness, hit that like button and subscribe to Midnight Cravings. Until next time, keep your towels separate, check your shampoo bottles, and sleep well if you can. Good night.